What's up, YouTube? It's Joel with your stimulus check and news update as of November the 15th. There is 9 huge problems with this $1.75 trillion stimulus Build Back Better plan that you need to know about, because I promise it will affect your everyday life. We're talking the economy, of inflation, and the money in your pocket. We will go over the timeline of the bill and when you can see it be brought to the House floor for a vote. We have updates from Chuck Schumer on the Build Back Better plan and where it's at in the process of getting it passed, as well in the Senate. But we are getting closer and closer to a government shutdown that could happen on December 3rd if they don't do something about it. But we do have good news that we will go over where the Social Security reform bill is at in the process of trying to get it passed. And if you could do me a huge favor and destroy that like button for me and the YouTube algorithm, it really helps the channel out so much. It's awesome for you to do that for me, and I really appreciate every like. And please, if anyone asks you for personal info or to contact them on WhatsApp or by text, it's not me, it's fake. Please don't do it. So we are going to go over this new Build Back Better plan and the 9 problems that are wrong with it. They are huge and they will affect the average American. And no, this is not a video to bash Biden or the Democrats, but it's to keep you informed. I want the best for everyone, and I want us to do our jobs and take care of our people in any way that we can, especially our kids and our seniors and those that really need it. So let's get right into it. Number 1. So we don't really know how much this whole bill is going to cost. I know that we have been getting figures in the news that's around 1.75 trillion, but the Congressional Budget Office said the analysis of the bill's many provisions is complicated, and CBO will provide a cost estimate for the entire bill as soon as practicable. Now, the House wants to pass the bill this week, but the CBO score won't be finished yet. So the CBO score will tell us what the actual cost of the bill is, how it'll affect the economy. So since we don't have it, we can guess, but we still don't really know. Number 2, adding to the cost once the bill is passed. To make certain policies permanent, the White House and many top Democratic leaders intend to make many of the new policies permanent, but it's given expiration dates to score only the first year of the extended child tax credit, the first 4 years of new healthcare expansions, and the first 6 years of childcare and early pre-K subsidies for the CBO score. So by extending these additional policies, it's going to add around $2 trillion to the 10-year cost. So the total cost of this bill is going to be somewhere in the realm of around $4 trillion. Number 3, the economic growth. So the White House claims these policies will grow the economy, but there is a nonpartisan economist at the Penn-Wharton budget model that calculates if Congress follows the White House policy to make most of these provisions permanent, then the Build Back Better plan will reduce the long-term GDP by 2.8%, reduce wages by 1.5%, and reduce work hours by 1.3%. The only thing it will expand is government debt by 25%, which is not a good thing. We need to get down our debt. Number 4, inflation. We are experiencing the highest inflation in over 30 years. And the reason is the money that's getting pumped into the economy from the government. 6.2% is huge, and everyone is feeling it. We're talking energy costs to heat up your home, gasoline, furniture, medical care, food prices, used and new cars. If this bill passes, it will add to these issues of rising costs and send prices up even more. Number 5, expanding state and local tax deductions. A lot of people are upset because this comes from the Democrats, and usually the Republicans are the ones that are for the rich, but it gives the top 1% of earners in the U.S. a tax break. The bill would raise the cap on the state and local tax deductions from $10,000 all the way to $72,500. This $500 billion tax cut would provide 84% of its benefits to the top earning 10% of households, saving as much as $19,000 a piece for them, while the average American family would save around $20. So many wealthy families could see a net tax cut in this bill. Number 6, child tax credits for illegal immigrants. The legislation would end the requirement of a valid Social Security number, so if you're in the United States illegally, you could get the child tax credit. This would be affecting around 675,000 children. The issue here is that the parents are the ones that get the money. So if the parents can choose not to use that child tax credit for their kids and it's going to illegals and there's nothing they can do about that, they're not making sure that that person has a Social Security number. There's many children that go to bed hungry and don't have the necessary things that are American children. There's a ton of them ton of illegal immigrants that are coming over and taking funds that are supposed to be going towards benefiting Americans. Number 7, child care reform. Child care is expensive, and the Democrats are trying to offer a one-size-fits-all system that would drive up the cost of daycare centers because they're adding new regulations and they're mandating larger salaries, which in turn, if you have to pay the workers more, then the child care costs more. Well, what happens? This could raise the child care prices by as much as $13,000 per year. This is according to the People's Policy Project. Now, many of these new costs would then be passed to who? The government. And then the government, where do they get their money from? The taxpayers. So in order to cap costs for the families, this is what they would have to do. Families that prefer informal child care arrangements like having your grandparents watch over your kids or friends, they would be excluded from this assistance. And now an easy way to help out with this is just expand the child tax credit. Let families get more money and then they choose how to spend it. Number 8, historically high taxes. The House bill's $2 trillion tax increase would be the largest in nearly 40 years. The corporate tax increases would be nearly triple the size of the tax cuts they received in 2017. And the international reforms would harm American multinational companies relative to their international competitors. So globally, we're not as competitive. For households, the top combined marginal income tax rates, including federal, state, and payroll taxes, would go up to over 66% marginal tax rates in places like New York. If Congress maximizes taxes on corporations and wealthy families to pay for this legislation, well, guess what? Guess where those taxes will be left to raise when the time is to address the huge $25 trillion deficits projected between 2019 and 2031, the middle class. Because you can't keep spending and raising the national debt with it almost at $29 trillion and not have it affect everybody, because you can only raise people's taxes so much. So if the super ultra rich are already at 60-70%, who are they gonna come for next? The middle class. Number 9, marriage penalties. The House bill would extend the American Rescue Plan's expansion of the Earned Income Tax Credit that broadened age eligibility and increased benefits for childless workers. But this new design would expand a marriage penalty. So imagine if 2 single people got married, they would lose as much as $2,700 in annual EITC benefits. They could fix the EITC formula so that a couple's benefit levels are the same regardless of whether they get married. Now, the Build Back Better plan is going to add trillions of dollars to our national debt. We're already dealing with a lot of inflation. They want to raise current taxes for people, and this could show up as future tax hikes for the middle class in the future. But we do have good news, because there's bills that are not tied to this huge bill that would help and affect millions of Americans that need it the most. Now, the timeline for voting on this bill is actually this week. Pramila Jayapal, when asked when the vote would be, she said, yes, is the short answer. We will have a vote this week. Moderate Democrats have said that they wanted to wait to vote on this bill until they get the CBO score. But Jayapal said that the House ultimately will not wait for the score on the whole bill, but will have enough information from CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, on the bill to move forward. So because of the delays in waiting on the CBO score, it looks like it's going to still take a couple more weeks before the Senate votes on the Build Back Better plan. So we have Chuck Schumer, who's the leader of the Senate, said even if the House passes the so-called budget reconciliation bill this week, there's still work to do to ready the legislation for the Senate floor. Now, they will be trying to pass that at the same time as we have a government shutdown that's about to hit our nation if they don't do something by December 3rd. Schumer said that the Senate will need to pass a stopgap funding bill to avoid a government shutdown after December 3rd, and possibly need to address the debt limit next month as well. So Chuck Schumer asked Democrats to keep your schedule flexible for the remainder of the calendar year. He said, I am confident we can get each of these important items done this year, but it will likely take some long nights and weekends. Now, this goes all into Biden's approval rating, which is getting lower and lower, and some things need to change in order to get him to a better place. We should all want our president to do as best as he can to help out our country and lead our country in the right way. So I hope they can figure something out so that we can move forward better as a country. Now, on to the good news for the new Social Security 2100 Act bill. This is doing great. There's actually starting to be some bipartisan support. There are many Republicans that are joining the cause to get this bill passed. As Congress is trying to pass a ton of bills right now, This bill is gaining steam and would bring a ton of benefits to Social Security recipients. We have a couple, just to give an example. Number one is a tax cuts for over 10 million Social Security recipients by raising the threshold on taxation of benefits. Next is benefit bump beginning in 2021 for current and new beneficiaries. Next is protection for low-income workers by raising the minimum benefit from below the poverty line to 25% above it. So people will get a huge increase. Next is long-term protection against inflation for cost of living adjustments by adopting the CPI-E formula. So people would see an immediate increase in the monthly payouts, getting more benefits, which is great because a lot of them really need it, especially because they're on fixed incomes, so they're not gonna get any more. So let me know your thoughts about this all in the comment section, and we can talk about it right there. If you're for it or against it, about everything that we talked about. But please don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all stimulus and economic news that affects you and learn how to build some wealth. This is Joel, True Life Investing. Until next time.